Matt and I are out and about this morning. We're going to do a few things in the garden. The warm weather has returned to the southern mountains of Appalachia, so we've had a fairly warm week. That nice cold, airish weather we had left us, and the warmth has come back. One of the things we're going to do today is really exciting, I think. Really one of the rewarding things to do in the garden is that we're going to plant something that we won't harvest till next June, July, whenever it is, which is our garlic. I love that about garlic, is that you do it so far ahead and then you just forget about it, and then you know, one hot summer day you get to harvest it and enjoy it. So we have some of the garlic, and I'm not picky about the garlic that we grow, and Matt's not either, but we do like the hardneck varieties is usually what we grow. So this time I just had to get what they had, and it was Duganski, I guess, Duganski. Music was one of them, and then the Ukrainian red, got one of those. So that's the garlic that we're gonna plant. And then, like I said, it's wonderful. Plant it and forget about it. Think about all the things between now and then, Thanksgiving and Christmas, and then on into the spring, the new year, and all that. So I love to do that, and then think about what we'll be doing next year at the time that we're actually harvesting it. This past year, for the first time ever, I used the garlic scapes, because so many of you had told me about that, and I made some wonderful garlic scape pesto, I guess. I didn't exactly do mine the right way, like I didn't have all the ingredients, but what I made we really like, and we've been using it. I just put it in the freezer in little jars, and we've been using it. I think it's pretty good on a piece of homemade bread, but it's also good to put a spoonful in, you know, whatever you're cooking that you would want garlic in. So we've really enjoyed that, so I hope to do that again. And something else, oh, I know what I was going to say, something else about the garlic. Matt and I have in 2 or 3 different places in our gardens, one up here in the front and one back here in the back that comes to mind, is some garlic that came from one of Granny's aunts, Aunt Susie. And we put it there, and we have harvested, I don't know if we've ever harvested this in the back, but up there in the front we've pulled it up and left some and then harvested some. But I like to think of it as my security garlic. It's just there growing. Now, I think garlic is a pretty plant if you let it go to bloom, you know, go to seed. It's really pretty, I think, with the big fluffy looking balls. So we just kind of have that there. And we could at any time pull it up and eat it if we wanted to. We could pull it up and definitely divide it out and spread it around. But we just kind of leave those two in that area. And usually we plant some somewhere, and that's what we harvest and we eat on through the year. Last year we put them in one of the raised beds, and that worked so good that I think that's what we'll do again this year. The other things we've got to plant today is dear friends sent us some more Egyptian walking onions. They just, once you have them, you can see how many they sent us. Once you have them, they really do produce like crazy. Where mine first come from, my friend Bill Dotson, he just has so many that for several years he would even give them away if somebody would just pay the shipping, you know, and he would just send them some in the mail. So once they get started, you have an abundance, so it's easy to share. I hope with these, I'm going to put them in that bed where I've got ours now, and hoping to get that whole raised bed full of Egyptian walking onions. I think I'll succeed with this, so I'm so thankful to them for sending it. And one other thing, Adora sent us, thank you so much, was just kind of a little box full of goodies. So there was some garlic, elephant garlic in here. There were some walking onions, a little thing of them, and I guess I'll just put those with those others, and we'll put them up there. There was some seeds, thinking about onions and leeks. I would love to do the leeks. I've never grown leeks, nor really ever even cooked with leeks or anything, but I think that would be great. There's some little shallots, little bag of shallots. And then I was really excited, there's some potato onions. These are multiplying onions, and a couple of years ago, some nice person sent me some, and I tried to plant them, but they didn't make. They all died out. So I'm real hopeful about these, that if we could get them started. And Matt suggested that we might put these in one of the raised beds in the back. We put the peppers in those round beds this year, and we didn't really like how it just didn't turn out like we thought. So we might take one of those and put these back there, hoping that they would just take over, and then there they would be. So that would be wonderful. I'm really excited about these. Several years ago, our friends Donna and Michael, where Corey and Austin got married, if you remember that wedding video. If not, I can link to it down below. But we were over at their house one time, walking, hiking, looking around in the woods, and we found some stuff that when we first, it was in the spring of the year, when first, early spring, first people saw it. I don't remember which one of us, we thought maybe it was daffodils, but on closer inspection, it wasn't. It was like an old home place. But it was, we could tell by the smell, it was either onion or garlic. And I remember I wrote about it on the Blind Pig and the Acorn back then, and a lot of people told me that they thought it was potato onions. That's what they thought it was, and probably made sense being around an old home place that they probably had them, and then, you know, they've just continued to grow all these years. So we got a lot to get to today, but it's exciting to plant these things that we know we'll be able to enjoy in the coming months, hopefully some of them, but especially even into the future years. Matt's went to get the tractor. That's the first thing we're going to do is put compost in the beds before we plant them. But I was down here looking at this bed, see if there's any room. I might put a few onions right there, just right there in the corner. The rest of it's pretty full. So this is the bed I was trying to fill up with the Egyptian walking onions, and you can see I'm having some luck with it there. We're going to add some more compost though, and then in this end we'll plant some of those that dear people sent us. And then this bed really will be full. We'll put garlic in this bed. You can see here some of my evidence of the composting I was talking about in a recent video that I like to do. But we're going to cover up all of this with a layer of compost, and then we'll plant in that. We will probably use this bed for the garlic too. Again, you can see some of my composting on top there. Might start with this one since it's a longer bed, but we're going to put some compost on the top of it before we plant. And see the steam coming off the compost. Oh, it smells so good too, doesn't it, Matt? Mm-hmm. So this is actually compost. It was tree mulch that we got, and for the first time, and I don't know when, we didn't put down any mulch this year, Matt. Did you realize that?
Oh, it's really weird.
I know. So this has been sitting there, how long, 2 years?
Mm-hmm.
Almost 2 years. So the wood mulch has turned into, you can see how fine it is there, turned into beautiful, rich compost. Is that easier than carrying buckets?
Gosh, yeah.
Using a tractor?
Mm-hmm. How much do you want?
If you got it, maybe another layer. And then I'll start planting. I'm just going to kind of throw them out, and then I'll go back and plant them. If I have any left, I'm going to share some with Corey. She might like to put some in one of her raised beds that she's got down there in front of her house. It wouldn't take but a minute, and then she'd have her own start down there. That is going to be wonderful. I see some I didn't even cover up down here. See if I can poke that one down in there a little bit more. I got that one out. And I've got a little bit left. I'll just save those to share with Corey. And I'm going to put the other ones right here in the little corner of this bed. Get those out for me, Matt. You could break each one of those apart and plant them that way, but I'm just gonna stick them down in there. There was one by itself. But while Matt's filling up the last bed, I was getting the garlic ready. I even managed to write my markers, which is great for me. I have a few more cloves, but we'll start with these and see if this is enough. Corey and Katie had this table out yesterday doing some stuff on it, and we've not put it up yet. We're going to wash off the top of it, and boy, has it been handy for this. Been very handy. Makes me think I need a table like this out here all the time.
You want a row?
I think
we just pushing them in.
I think just push them in. I think we could do 3 rows, don't you?
Yeah.
So what do you want to here label me one? I actually made labels. Can you believe it?
No.
Move my gloves out of the way. Here's another one. And then whoops, sorry. And then I will give you this bucket. And I'll start at the other end with the music. Right there. Go down here. Gonna run out?
Probably.
Let me go get you some more of that kind. Just put it all in there and we'll go to the next bed. I said I'll just put it all in there since we gotta go to the next bed. I'm excited about these potato onions Adora sent. So we'll put them, I don't guess it matters, does it? Kind of lay them out. I am going to break those apart. I'm going to put the shallots up here in this part.
Oh, it's hot.
Yes, warm. I have one elephant garlic. I wonder that Adora sent. Wonder if we could just put it in here too. It's just one clove.
Do you ever know what it is?
Huh?
When you know what it is.
I've got to, look at this, what I did.
Wow.
Are you impressed?
Yeah.
Can I put it right here and you think? Well, we lied to you. We're eating a popsicle again. We thought we'd eat our last one. Matt said we should have eaten these a year ago. They're kind of freezer burned.
Yep.
Still tasty though. Very sweet. Peach. Matt don't like the peach. I don't have any more grape.
It ain't bad.
And I didn't buy any because I really thought cold weather had set in for good. I should have known better though. This is how it does. It ebbs and flows kind of. It'll make you want to start building your fires every day, and you have a week or two of that, and then the warm weather comes back. So we've had warm weather this week. It's been cool of the mornings, but then in the afternoons, the evening, as we would say, it warms back up nicely.
That tastes just like canned peaches. And it reminds me of when I was little, I got sick.
Did you get foundered?
No. What I had was the flu, and a pretty bad case of it, and was sick for 8 or 10 days. And I was real young. I was probably 6 or 7. But I was convinced that I had to eat peaches right before that, and that's what made me sick. And I wouldn't eat peaches probably for 10 years after I'd never eat another one. Because while I was sick, they took me, we all had it, me and Mom and Daddy all. We all had to go to the doctor, and they give us penicillin. And I've not, to my knowledge, took it since then, so I don't really remember. But the taste of that penicillin was just horrific to me at that time. And I was convinced that if I eat peaches again, I was going to have to take penicillin again, and I did not want to do that because I almost couldn't swallow it. And I wouldn't eat peaches till I was up in my teens, probably before I ever ate another
realized
peach.
You could eat a peach.
And they kept telling me it wasn't the peaches, it was the flu. So that's what that taste reminds me of. It tastes just like the canned peaches.
A lot of people do that. They get sick, especially if you throw up whatever you eat, and you don't want that no more for a good long time anyway. I have a video where Granny talks about being foundered. She wasn't sick like Matt was. She just ate too much of new potatoes and peas in the spring of the year, and she got so sick, and she said it was years before she could eat them again.
Yeah. Hopefully this 2-year-old popsicle don't do me the same way.
I don't think so.
I don't know if it's that old or not. It's got a lot of ice on it.
It's not 2 years old. Probably from the beginning of the summer, but it was in the basement freezer. I went down there and prowled around and found it.
It's sure warm enough to eat one.
It is, yeah. So we did lie to you about our last popsicle. Thankfully, thinking about the flu, we've not been sick in a long time. I don't want to jinx us by saying that, but we've been well, and It is miserable to be sick like that, though. And the flu really can just knock it out of you.
Yeah.
Well, maybe the last time I had the flu. Was that right? Has that been it? Was that time you was working out of town and I had to call and ask you to come home?
Probably.
That's really the sickest I've ever been in my life. The 2 times I would say that, and then when I had cystitis, I thought I was dying then, which then when I found out what it was and what I needed to do to quit to feel better, it immediately got better. But the flu that time was really bad. And in those days, Corn Katy, of course, when you have young kids, they bring all that stuff home to you from school and from different places. But I don't know, I still to this day swear, I think, that I got the flu at the folks' school, contra dancing in the line there. Somebody give it to me because I had it, and Corn Katy never did get it, did they? I don't think so that time. Usually they would get it first, and then they would give it to me and Matt. Oftentimes they would just give it to me, and Matt wouldn't get whatever it was. But that year, Matt was having to work out of town, construction. This was when, it was after the 2008 and all that.
Yeah.
You know, the economy being bad, and I took, can't remember now which one, Corey or Katie one, to a orthodontist appointment, and then the other one was at school, and then I was just going to drop the other one, whichever one I had with me, back at school. And I remember sitting, it was the orthodontist that would let me go back there with them, and so I was just sitting there in the corner, and I was thinking, I just don't hardly feel right, something's wrong with me, and just began to feel worse and worse. And then I come home, dropped them at school and come home, and then realized I'm getting sick. That's what's wrong with me. It's been a long time since I've been sick. I didn't realize. And so I got worse as you will when you have the flu, got worse as the day went by. And I'm sure I told Matt, we talked on the phone and all that, but something, I don't remember if it was a storm or something happened that night. This was before I ever had a cell phone. And the phones went out. So how I remember that is the next morning I realized I'm not just sick, I'm sick. I don't know, I've never been this sick. And so I remember on my way taking Corey and Katie out to take them to school, I would drive them over there, and I stopped at Paul's house and knocked on the door and said, I have to use your phone. That must have been when he was doing his principal fellowship thing, or he wouldn't have been there. Remember when he got accepted into the North Carolina Principals Fellowship, something like that it was called, to be a principal. So he got to take a year, I guess it was a year off to get his master's degree. It must have been during that time. Anyway, and I said, you'll have to disinfect your phone, but my phone's messed up and I got to use your phone. I don't know why mine would have been messed up though, not Paul's. Anyway, things you remember. And I called Matt though, and I was like, come home, please, come home. And you did. And it was like 2 weeks, wasn't it, before I got better? That was the sickest I've ever been. I'm just out of my mind on the couch, hallucinating stuff. My fever was so high. That was bad, wasn't it?
Yeah. Yeah, I hate getting like that. I've been like that a couple of times.
Mm-hmm.
I've been sick quite a few times, but I've never been in that kind of shape,
Yeah.
but about twice.
And terrible, it was like I almost had pneumonia, terrible congestion. But Matt come home and become Mr. Mom and took over, and I just laid on the couch and thought I wasn't going to make it.
Yeah, I don't want that again.
I still think I got it in the contra dance line at the folk school.
Mm-hmm.
Matt and Daddy both got sick like that one time when Corey and Katie, the first year that we had Corey and Katie, so they would have just been a few months old. Y'all got the flu.
Mm-hmm. That was one of the worst times
And
I've
they
ever
were
had it.
both really, really sick, both of them. And I didn't get it though. And if I remember, I don't think Mama got it either.
Mm-mm, she didn't.
But Matt and Daddy both were really sick, but they had those high fevers where they both kind of got out of their minds like that. Yeah, where they wasn't thinking straight.
Yeah.
Your mama, that time I was so worried about Matt, your mama come out here, tried to help.
And then you was trying to take me to the hospital, and I wouldn't go.
Mm-hmm.
I remember me and your daddy was working, and right in the middle of the day, I got to feeling so bad, I told him, I said, I'm going home. He said, oh, you ain't that bad off, are you? And I said, yeah, I'm going home. we were building a house, and we were putting the floor on. I already had the floor trusses up, and we was having to cut and carry plywood. Or I was cutting it and carrying it to him, and he was nailing it down, and it was hot. And carrying that plywood, my head was hurting so bad. That's how it began, was just a headache so bad you just couldn't hardly bear it, and then having to strain and carry that plywood like that, and then flipping it over onto the floor, that real loud bang noise that it made. I couldn't stand that in the morning. It was about lunchtime, and I told him, I said, I'm going home and I'm going to bed. He said, well, you can't be that sick. And I said, yeah, I am. Well, a day or two later, he got it. And we were both, it was a week went by, we were both
knocked out.
Just incapacitated. And I got up some days later and could tell I was getting over it. I still felt bad, but I felt way better than I did. And I got outside, and the sun was shining, and it wasn't real hot, but I just wanted to get out in the sunshine, get outside, because I'd laid in the bed or the couch or whatever it was for 7 or 8 days. And I walked down the hill, and there he sat on the porch at Paul's, just with his head in his hands. And I asked him if he's getting over it or feeling any better. He said something to the effect, my goodness, he said, I can see what you meant now that day you left work. He said, I don't know how in the world you is standing that. And I said, well, what? And I went home.
Yeah.
I said, I couldn't stand it. He said, this is the sickest I've ever been. And I said, I know, it's bad. I can do without that.
Oh yeah, me too, for sure. I'm a wimp when it comes, and the older I get, the more wimpier I get when it comes to being sick.
I think I'm getting that way too.
Yeah.
Can't deal with it like I once did.
It's funny how kids can have that same flu or whatever and have a high fever, and they
still want
to play and go, and then we're like, oh, I just need to go to bed, please. Let me just lay still and be quiet.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We ain't had nothing like that in quite a while.
No, I'm glad. Really glad. I can't believe in the last 2 or 3 days how many leaves have fallen.
Yeah.
A lot of them have already fell. You can probably see behind us there. Lots of them on our porch and our deck, and
yeah, we're not the leaf blowing kind. They just pile up.
They just pile up. I mean, we do sweep them off the porch.
Yeah, we'll sweep them off the porch, but in the yard,
we don't rake them or anything.
They'll eventually, what don't blow away will get chopped up in the spring with a lawnmower. Mm-hmm. I ain't blowing leaves. There's 400 million of them right here close, and I'm just not going to blow them. They just keep falling.
I would like to blow them though, or rake them and then put them all on our garden and chop them up. I always think about that, but we don't ever do it. Luckily for us though, a lot of them fall on the garden, so it kind of does it itself in one way.
I'm like your daddy was about mowing. Some things, there ain't very many things I'm not going to do, but raking leaves and blowing leaves is going to be one of them.
You remember one time though, I shared the picture recently on the Blind Pig and Acorn, but we raked for your mama. We went, and we always would help do whatever she needed to do, and she wanted us to rake leaves, and so we raked them. And I don't remember at this time who thought of it, me or Matt, but went one of us, and we laid down in the leaves. And there's a picture of us laying in the leaves. Yeah, Miss Cindy took the picture, or we would have never even remembered it. So I'm glad she did. But she thought it was funny too. We were being silly. And I don't know where Corey and Katie must have been inside doing something, or they'd have been in them too.
Yeah.
Actually, there is a picture of them in it. I just now, as soon as I said that, I thought of that, and she took that picture too of Corey and Katie in the leaves. Anyway, but yeah, we don't rake them or blow them, either one.
I mean, it'd be different if you lived out away from the woods a little bit, but we live in the woods.
They blow in, we blow back. Be a never-ending job.
That's all you'd ever get done, and I'm just not going to start it. I don't mind them. Sweep them off the porch, and then that's good enough.
Yeah, I do love, and our yard's not that nice anyway, I mean, as far as the grass. But I do love the thought of gathering them all up and chopping them up and putting them on the gardens. I know it would really enrich them, but like I said, when I look down there, especially that big one, it's right under all those oaks. It's basically covered in leaves. Yeah. I'm so glad we got all those things planted though. That is really amazing. You think about it, and we do plant the way we plant our garlic. You plant it in this time of the year, and then you don't even really think about it till, you know, you start seeing it come up in the spring. But then probably usually July or something we harvest it usually.
Yeah,
sometime
a lot of
in
times
there.
we do that, and we do forget about it. And then some months later, it's growing out there, and we say, "What is that?"
What is that? Yeah, what
we
is
totally
that?
forget about planting it.
Yeah, there comes the sunshine, Matt. Matt told me if we sat here, the sun wasn't coming back.
Well, I told you a fib, and I apologize.
I may have to run get our little screen if it gets too bright. But yeah, it's really nice to have that done, and look forward to that. We like garlic and use it, and this year we really loved using the scapes. I'm so glad so many of you told us to do that, so that was wonderful. That's something I know we'll always do now that we know how good they are. That turned out so good. One of our recent videos that Matt did about when we were having that airish fall-like weather, and Matt built our first fire. A lot of people ask what we do with the ashes. What do we do with the ashes as Matt gets them out? He probably noticed in that video he used a bucket and he put some of them in it. That's what he does. He puts them in that bucket till it gets full, and then of course he has to do something with them, and he brings them and puts them on the garden. He just puts them, pours them out wherever, different places through the winter. So we put them back in just put them in the garden.
I've actually got 2 of those buckets, and I'll wait till I've got them both full, and
then
take them out and carry them on the garden.
Yeah, so that's what we do with the ashes. We do that. Another question I was asked and I didn't answer. I answered half of the question was in the little Q&A I did, was about saving tomato seeds though, and I explained that for us, our tomatoes, we grow them so close. We grow heirlooms. We grow them so close together that they mix. So it's not really. We could save the tomato seeds and they would make a tomato. It just might not be what we expected. We have way better luck saving the ones from the Tommy Toes. And like what's this, cream and sausage? We didn't plant none of them this year. We saved those for years. Tomato about kind of an oblong shape, about that big. And saved them and replanted them, and always stayed true until the year it didn't. The ones we saved turned into like more of a reddish tomato, remember? Anyway, so I explained all that. But then if we do save them, there's lots of different ways, and you have to do whatever works for you. What do they say? More ways than one to skin a cat, or something like that. Or Pastor-in-law said more ways than one to plant potatoes, and all that matters if you've got potatoes in the bucket at the end of the growing season.
Yeah.
So, but for tomatoes, take a nice tomato that you want to save the seeds from. Look for a healthy big one, or if it's a little Tommy Toe, still a big one like that, a fully matured one, and then get the seeds out. And usually I set those seeds, I put them in a little cup of water and let some of the kind of jelly stuff drip off of them, like leave them in there for 2 or 3 days, and then pour that out and drain them, and then lay them on something, maybe parchment paper or something like that, or a paper towel, but they'll stick to the paper towel, and let them dry, and then put them up till next year. There's other ways of doing it. Some people just get out that little jelly stuff and all, and just kind of smear it over a paper towel or something like that, and then when because they dry, then they'll dry on there and kind of stick to it. And then when it comes time to plant them, they just cut out a little square of the paper towel and plant the whole thing, So there's all kinds of different ways to do it. But if we save them, I put them like in a little cup of water for 2 or 3 days and let some of that stuff kind of dissolve away, and then I pour them out, drain them, and try to dry them and make sure they're really dried good before I put them up for next year. So, but again, we grow our heirlooms so close together that it's hard to keep them from not cross-pollinating and turning into something else.
Yep. They're still good though.
Oh yeah, it's like nature's the volunteers sometimes you might get, and you think, what is that? If you let it grow and you're not exactly sure what it is. We had those red tomatoes up there this year, but they were good. But I'm not sure exactly what they were. If it was like a new variety that had crossed, or if it was from a supermarket tomato or something like that, I don't know. Which I don't think so, because we don't really buy supermarket tomatoes.
No.
So, yeah, lots of gnats. You're going to have to make us a gnat smoke.
Yeah, I'm not going to do that because when we get done with this, I'm going to go in there where they ain't none.
Yeah. It's terribly dry still,
Yeah.
terribly dry, so we probably wouldn't want to make one anyway because of that. But we will need to go back if it. I was hoping today that we might have a little. We keep getting these little chances of rain, but it doesn't materialize. But we'll have to go back around and water everything that we planted. We've still been watering the fall. We don't have very many fall things, but the turnips and the kale and lettuces and the radishes, those things, we've still been watering them. But I'm wishing our weather pattern would change and we get some rain.
Yeah. I'm hoping it'll change and then get some cold weather.
Yeah, I get some cold weather.
This is not conducive to me going hunting.
Or to cozying up around the wood stove either. Yeah. But what it is good for this year is for all the people with the storm issues going on. So we're happy to do without the rain and to have the warmer temperatures too, so that it's not hard on people having to stay in tents and trying to pick up the pieces of their lives. Really on lots of people's minds, of course, has been the people that lost their homes and all those. I mean, it's just can't even imagine. And the ones that have lost their lives, of course. But so many businesses were impacted too, and lots of businesses trying to figure out do they rebuild or do they move or do they just close that? I don't know. Lots of different problems they're facing.
Yeah, lots of compounding problems.
Yeah.
It's going to take a long time to get resolved if they get resolved.
Mm-hmm. So much of the infrastructure has been damaged too. It may be that they're all for rebuilding or redoing their store or their business or whatever it is, but the actual what they need, whether it's the city water or power or whatever, is not there.
Right.
Or sewer. Lots of sewer washed away in lots of places.
Mm-hmm.
So let's continue to remember them in prayer for sure.
Right. Yeah, I don't know how many businesses that got, just damaged beyond repair, but I know one where my dad lives, the old feed store, and I used to get feed there years ago. I think it was right on the river, and the building's still there, but I think it flooded everything in it, I'm sure. But they had an old building outside that they used as storage to keep their spare feed and hay and stuff in. It's gone. It totally washed it away. And then I guess the damage inside the other building was so great that they are just not going to redo it, and they ended up moving their business to the next town over, which is Waynesville. So now they no longer have a feed store. Mm-hmm. And there's been, in some capacity, been a feed store there for, I don't know, 2 or 3 generations at least. Mm-hmm. I remember Daddy talking about it. And I remember going in that old feed store when I was a little bitty boy. And he said he had went into it when he was young. And it was the old, just like you can imagine or have heard or read about, the old wood floor to go in, and they've got the big wood barrel with the hoop cheese, and you could smell the feed and the leather and all the old tools and stuff hanging in there. And there just ain't hardly anywhere like that left. And those places, especially to a kid, was just the best place in the world, you know. And they're always usually an old guy or two worked in there, and they'd always slip and give you a little candy if you come in with your daddy. Yeah. And I've kind of missed being in those kind of places. Yeah.
One of my friends shared, she's in Virginia, but of course they had damage there too, and their church, it damaged it to the point that I guess they voted and they're not going to redo it. But interestingly, it's a really old church, and it had survived like the flood of 1916 damage, but they redid it. And then 1940 was a big flood too, kind of the same deal here. And they voted to restore it, but this time they're not going to. They're not going to close it or anything, but they're going to move it further up and build a new church. It's just sad, but you can totally understand, because those it's interesting. I've heard people talk about the 100-year floods. Like, I had never heard of the 1916 flood. Maybe if I had in passing somewhere, like when I was studying Appalachia, because it was in our area, I might have, but not to that I would have even thought of it when Helene happened until people started talking about it. And I've shared some of the videos, the this is Geo Models, is that the name of his channel, I think. He talks about that and shows about how even from satellite views you can see damage left from those floods, you know. Anyway, really interesting when you think about it. I mean, terrible, but interesting. But then I've heard people say, well, so this is a 100-year flood, you know, and if you few of us live 100 years, you know, you live to be that long, so you could live your whole life and never see nothing like that, you know. So maybe you think about kids born right now, they won't never see it in their lifetime or something like that in Western North Carolina. But then, of course, we know there's no guarantee of that. What if it turns into being 20-year flood or whatever? So just so much damage, and you can understand, like the church or the store thinking, well, I can't do this again. And that store was probably damaged in the flood of when was that, 2004, that was so bad in Canton. It might have been damaged then. I don't know that it was, but it could be that they're just like, we can't do that again.
I don't remember what kind of storm, or I just don't remember much about it, other than there was a flood in the mid to late 70s out there, because I can remember it. And I remember being in town. I remember being on the bridge at the old YMCA building, where it crossed the river right before the river went into the paper mill. And normally that bridge, it would have been about 20 feet to the water, and the water was up and hitting the bottom of the bridge, and there was logs and all kinds of debris. And I remember an old junked out car that had been washed down, and it was hung against one of the pillars of the bridge. And I can remember standing up on the not standing on the rail, but standing up to where I could lean over the old bridge railing and look at that. And it was pretty bad. I don't remember any damage or anything. There might have been.
Yeah.
But I can remember standing there looking at that water and thinking, my goodness, you know.
Yeah.
And as it went under the bridge, it was just this big
sound,
rolling torrent, and it went and was going into where the paper mill was there. So I don't think that it got all the way out. Not there in town anyway, I don't think, but I really can't remember. It's been a long time ago. But I can remember seeing that for myself, and that would have been, I don't know, 76, 7, 8, 9, around in there.
Yeah.
I have to ask Daddy about it, see if he remembers it, and see what he knows can remember about it, because I don't remember anything other than that. I remember watching that water.
Was you been with him, or maybe with Grandma Bonnie?
I was with Grandma Bonnie.
Yeah.
And I'm sure if she known I was out there on that bridge, she would have fainted.
She worked at the YMCA there. Matt would go to work with her. She was the lifeguard.
She was like the aquatic director of the whole pool area there. And I spent a whole lot of time with her. And
so she probably thought you was inside playing and you was outside looking at the...
Yeah, every time I got a chance to get away from her and go where I wasn't supposed to be, that's where I was.
Yeah, I can believe that. Yeah, I can believe that.
Yeah.
I guess right now you're ready to go in and...
I'm ready for some lunch. Or dinner, excuse me.
Yeah, dinner.
I get scolded for saying lunch.
Got to hold on to the old terms. We've lost so many of them.
Well, okay, I'll try to...
What you gonna eat for your dinner?
I don't know. I'll go in and dig around,
Find something.
find something to scarf down.
You want some sardines? You like sardines?
I used to. I don't as much. I don't mind to eat them. I'm just a little, for whatever reason, I'm a little fearful of them, as far as not knowing. I mean, them things can make you sick. I can understand.
I like them. Daddy liked them, so I liked what Daddy liked when I was little. I wanted to be like him. I know that Granny and Paul wouldn't eat them, and I don't know about Steve. I can't remember if he ate them, but I I would eat them with Daddy on saltine, sody crackers, you know, sody crackers we call them.
Binks will eat them.
Yeah.
That's how I got him to start eating.
How y'all tamed
That's how we
Binks.
tamed him down. I felt bad for him because he was eating bugs in the yard, and I remembered we had a whole flat of sardines in the basement, and we hadn't eaten any of them, so I went down there and got a can and pulled the lid off, and he was under the car. And I eased out there and just laid it down and went back in and watched him out the window, and he finally came over to it and started eating it, and that was the first
contact.
First contact right there, and now look at us.
Yeah. He's part of the family.
Yeah.
When I was little and I would eat them, if Daddy wasn't there, Paul would cry about it and complain that they made him sick, you know. And I tell this story on him. Of course, he was just little, how little kids will do. But he one day was pitching a fit that he didn't want. I was making him sick, and Granny said, "Tipper, go outside." We didn't have a porch then. We just had like a little steps where Granny's little front porch is now. It's just concrete blocks there for steps. She said, "Go out there and sit on the steps, and you eat them outside. You know, I'm tired of hearing your brother complain or whatever." So I was like, so I did. I went outside and sat on the steps to eat my sardines. And the little rat Paul come and looked through the window and watched me, and then he got sick. He threw up. But he made me go outside, and then he come and watched me and threw up.
That's hilarious.
Yeah.
I
He's just little, but still.
I
I'm like I'm 4.5 years older than him, so, but yeah, he wanted me to go, he made Mama make me go outside, and then he peeked through the window, and then he got sick and threw up.
I ate some smoked oysters one time that's out of a similar sardines out of a can, and they were good, but they made me sick.
Huh.
And I've eaten sardines a little here and along since then, but not much.
I like them.
Well, I liked them all right, and I'll eat just about anything.
Yeah, you will.
But
Except radishes and horseradish is about two
yeah,
things.
I'm not going to eat that.
You don't like coconut much, although you love Aunt Kim's coconut cake.
Oh yeah, I do like that.
So. Well, now we made ourselves hungry. We better go in.
Yeah, just go find me something to eat, and sometimes you something too.
Yeah. We're always glad when you stop by to help us celebrate Appalachia, which of course is a whole lot about making a garden. So we hope that you're still stopping by with us next, what will it be, maybe next July, when we're harvesting that wonderful garlic that we planted today. There comes the sunshine.
Yeah.
I can't believe how many leaves have fallen.
It's just been in the last few days.
Yeah, last 2
They
days.
about all come off.
They about all come off, yeah.
You can see in the woods better. I like that.
Do you think the laurels are usually that yellow? I don't remember them being that yellow.
Well, usually they don't turn.
That's what I mean. I think there's just because of the dry year.
Yeah, I think that's probably right.
Just look up there. I noticed that one at Granny's is yellow.
It'd be all right with me if the every last one of them died.
I know, I love them. I'm willing to cut some of them back, but I love them. Love them. Well, you ready, or you want to keep sitting here with the bugs?
No, let's go.